and he is going to talk or speak about nutrition, reversing illness by food, and the power of fasting. So, Mr. Kamau, the floor is yours. Mr. Kamau.
Thank you so much, brother. Greetings, everyone, and thank you all for being here today, learning and teaching, sharing with us, creating. Very appreciative of the energies and everything that's being talked about. Again, today we're going to talk about nutrition, diseases, and some of the or one of the solutions or methodologies that we use to reverse diseases. Again, we can start off with nutrition. Now, last time we had a conversation about health. We discussed about what it is that we look for in food. And we determined that when we eat, what we are looking for is energy in order for us to keep on living our lives. Now, out of the energy, we broke it down into a couple segments where one part was the energy of the cells. Obviously, the cells is what makes the limbs and the organs. And in most cases, they use sugars or they use glucose or the type of energy that they use to function is called glucose in most cases, or fructose, if you want to be specific as far as fruits, even though fructose is also converted into glucose when you consume it. The other part was uh, minerals. That is, or the body requires minerals to be able to function. Most systems, most organs have minerals that are already in the body and they're required to be replenished once in a while for the body to keep functioning properly. Now, when there's a lack of these minerals, you'll find that the body is out of balance. In this case, you'll find that the body is diseased, or those symptoms are called diseases. And also, you might find you again to what we are consuming, we are creating uh, mechanisms in the body, like um, inflammation, or again, things that might cause the cells now to perform or to complete their cycles, because everything is a cycle. And if either the cycle is broken or if the cycle is not complete as it should be, then you find a problem um, uh, within or around the area, which might also again express itself as a symptom, which again is labeled as diseases. Now, uh, way before a long time ago, we didn't need to know what you know we needed to eat because everything was natural. Like Brother Salim there mentioned the word nature or the word natural as it coming out of nature, which is what was there from creation. again from the Creator. Everything that we needed was created and put forth for us to use whenever we need it, as far as food or whatever else that we needed. Now, the problem came in when man or scientists decided to start interfering with nature uh, due to whatever reasons. Some due to the thought of being creative to increase yields or to you know introduce plants that were not originally native to an area. So in doing so, what they did is they started combining some of these plants. And again, in doing so, they started separating the intercellular molecular structures of some of these plants. And in doing so, they deemed them incomplete, which means that everything in nature was created to be complete. But when you start mixing them up, two different plants through the process of hybridization, you start creating something that is not complete. It have two parts of two plants. It's not complete. Again, the way the cosmic arrangement is made, it have its own structures to be able to operate that way. Now, something like that, the body might not recognize it as food. Most of those things were added something that is called starch or inorganic starch. Again, most of those foods are where you find cellular energy, right, or glucose. And what would happen is one ingests that type of food, the body can only use so much of it and store the rest because it can't use the rest of it. So it stores it in excess as to use later, which is what we call fat. Or when you see people being fat, it's just the excess that the body is not currently using and it's just storing it for later use. The problem is the body never gets the chance to use the excess because we are constantly giving it foods that are in excess. So it's constantly storing, and we are constantly getting fat, right? We are constantly getting clogged up. We are constantly, having symptoms that we call diseases from this type of clogs or this type of excess. Also, these substances like this particular starch that I'm talking about can create issues or clog up areas that, for instance, the pancreatic duct. If it clogs up the pancreatic duct, then you're not able to produce enough insulin. And at that point, that symptom itself, they will label it as diabetic, or you're diabetic, and now they got to give you artificial insulin from outside of the body. And again, you'll have a condition that you call a disease. Again, I'm explaining this to let you know that, again, before we didn't need to understand what food was or how it affects us because everything in nature was there, it was good. Um, you know, and it was provided for us to consume or use. But again, due to this type of interferences and processes that have gone on for quite some time, we find that now, the human body is being diseased, or due to the introduction of these foods that we are consuming, uh, we are having issues. And so that's where we have come in and try to figure out what are the best foods for us to consume in order not to be diseased, or in order to maintain um, a healthy system. Now, again, the human body is one of the most complex, one of the most powerful system there is. It operates in a way that no one really knows fully how it operates. But the few things that we know some of the things that could affect it again, most of them being these foods that are mentioned that are artificial mainly. And again, you might think that everything that grows uh, in the soil is natural. However, that is not the case. Again, like I said, some of them have been artificially produced, or they have been artificially cross mixed up, hybridized, and then introduced back to nature. And the way that you will recognize this type of foods is they would never survive without the help of man. Now we're talking about almost 99% of what we eat, which is the foods that agriculture or cultivation is responsible for. Those foods you can never find them growing by themselves. And that's all we eat. We are talking about food like corn, potatoes, sweet potatoes. We are talking about wheat. We are talking about things like the white rice. We are talking about things like carrots. We are talking about things like bananas, even the fruits themselves, which are actually one of the highest foods that you can consume. But if you pay attention, you will find that you can never find these type of plants growing by themselves, and that will let you know that that is not a natural plant. That is a plant that was introduced, or what kind of process, or was put through a process, and then introduced in nature. Obviously, you had the original of these plants, but again, they were modified or they were hybridized to be able to either produce bigger yields, right? Or to be able to survive in environments that is not native to them, right? You look like things like corn. It was introduced from Central America. There's a glass. There's a grass there. I think it's called I'm forgetting the name. It'll come to me, but that's the original corn. Which, if you look at it, you will be surprised because it really doesn't look like corn. However, that's what they kind of hybridized and produced the current corn that we have today. If you look at the Irish potato, it was the original one was gotten out of Peru. It was the small, very small red potatoes that used to grow in Peru. They took them out of Peru, took them to an island where they again put them through the process of making them bigger, right? And making them to be able to grow in areas outside of Peru. Things like carrots, you find that this was hybrid between a wild yam and another plant, right? So you find most of these foods that are present to us today went through their process. Now, again, the problem with them is either, and now I'm talking about just the plants. Um, uh, they went through the process which something was added to them, either be a binder to make sure that two plants can join together. And in most cases, their binder is what we call starch, which is a glue. Even today, or when we was in school, if you wanted to use glue or stick something on the wall, you will get some starch flour or something and mix it with water, and that will form into a glue. Now you can imagine you are eating the same thing, and that same thing is going inside your body. And what would end up happening, it would create the same type of process inside your body, which is clogging up, first and foremost, clogging up your intestine. Then again, as it's being processed, it will end up either clogging up your brain, which is one of the main issues that we found with consuming starch, clogging up your cells, and again, creating a process that will make the mitosis or the process of the cell not to be complete. Again, this is not something that is extreme to a level that you will experience it right away, even though some people do experience it right away, because again, the body is constantly trying to process uh, these things to be able to help itself or to protect itself from the attack. Because again, it looks at some of these things as an attack. And eventually, again, what would end up happening after so long, it would end up either giving up or it will end up be overpowered by some of these things. That's why you see later on in life, we think that we are getting sick because uh, we are getting older or some of the processes are slowing down. However, it really have nothing to do with the processes slowing down or we are getting older, but what we have been consuming. The body eventually gives up and say, okay, I give up. And yes, some of these processes do slow down. However, again, the body was made to be that way. But because we have been constantly feeding it with uh, food or stuff that it shouldn't go inside the body, it end up causing a lot of issues. Again, we're talking about uh, you know inflammation. We're talking about things that compounds the system and causes all type of issues. Now that is the part of the plants. Now, when we look at animals, even scientifically, we can see that we are not set up to eat things like meat, pretty much to begin with. Even when we look at the animals that do consume meat, we find that on their insides, especially their colon, is totally different from the animals that consume vegetables or plants. We have the same colon setup as the animals that consume plants. The animals that consume meat have a very small colon, so the meat can go through there and pass through there fast enough. That's number one. So again, when we consume things like meat, these things end up causing a lot of issues in the system. Because again, the system is not set up to have meat in it. This also includes things like animal products like milk. Um, the milk of a cow have the DNA or have the structure to feed a baby cow and to make it very big in a very short period of time. That's the structure of the milk of a cow. Now, when you give this milk to a human being, it also create almost the same type of effect to begin with. Not to forget that it's also um, structured to have the DNA of a cow and not a human being, right? So again, if you look at nature, it can simply show you that hey, you're not really supposed to consume this type of um, substance. The only time that a cow produces milk is when it's pregnant. Now, again, humans are very smart. So what they do is they trick the cow into thinking that it's pregnant so it can give them milk. It can constantly give them milks. They are constantly having those veterinarian people to come and stick things in the cow to make it think that it's pregnant so it can constantly give milk. And that's how they get their milk. Again, some people have come up with some misinformation of things that maybe we need. Again, we determine what we really need while we eat food. And again, they will tell you that you need things like protein, right? And they say, hey, the only place you can get these proteins is through the animals and the animal products. Then again, we look at nature and we look at the animals. without even trying to be so confused about it. You look at the animals and you say, okay, let me look at the animals. And I see that most of the biggest animals don't consume any meat, they don't consume any beans, they don't consume none of the protein foods that they say that we need. However, they are the biggest animals. They are the strongest animals. So again, they let you know that this information is not correct. So you would ask, okay, what is protein, or where do we get protein? You find like protein are some of the structured blocks to build a body, for sure. However, these are only produced by their particular body. I mean, whoever body it is, or which animal body is produces its own protein. And the way it does that is to give it the raw material to be able to produce this protein. Again, another uh, example that you can look at, or another point of view that you can look at. Today we was talking about fear, and being afraid or being fearful. All right, you look at uh, the animals that we are consuming when they are being slaughtered. Right, the emotion that comes out of the animal uh, end up being in our bodies, because again, that's what we are consuming, right? So some of those things like fear can be associated or directly attributed to what we are consuming. Again, physically, we are what we consume, we are what we eat. So again, the emotions of these animals are directly uh, converted, or they are directly uh, put in our bodies because we are consuming the same animals. Again, we can also look at the animals and look at uh, all the violent animals eat meat. All the animals that do not eat meat, they are non-violent, right? So again, you ask yourself, why are human beings so violent? And again, you can see the correlation. You can see an example. You can see, I mean, in nature, you can look in nature. You don't have to read any books, you don't have to be taught by anybody, but just watch and observe in nature. Even look at the information that you are being provided and compare that with what you see in nature, right? And you find that again, some of this information, you can debug some of the myths. Again, when we look at some of the animals that we find in the farms or around us, you will never find them in the wild. So again, they let you know that there was a process there that was carried on by men uh, to be able to uh, bring these animals or create these animals in a way that they was not there. They was not naturally there, because again, you cannot find them in the wilderness. And they did this through the process of crossbreeding, mixing up the animals. Again, you find that those animals, most of them are not complete. Their molecular structure is not fully complete. Most of them are mixed up to create the so-called animals. Uh, Again, with that information, now we look at what are some of the foods that we naturally supposed to eat. Again, you go into nature and you look what is out there in nature that I can right now go to it and eat from it without having to think about how to prepare it, without having to read books, without having, I mean, if I was a child, if I was a baby and I was left in nature, what is it can I eat without having to worry about nothing else but just the food, just like the animals? Because again, we can learn a lot from the animals, right? And we find that fruits are the foods that we're really supposed to be eating, or those are the foods out in nature that are palatable with us. Fruit taste good. They are mainly found in nature, and that's the highest food that we can consume. Again, the rest of the food, they are going to cause some type of uh, reaction or some type of restrictions in our body, causing us to either experience uh, a breakdown or some type of inflammation, some type of restriction, or causing us not to get to the highest level. Again, we're talking about the dense part of our dimension, which is the body. And all these things are really connected, whether is the physical body, the mental part of the body, or even the spiritual part of it, right? If one part is not up to par, it's going to affect the other ones. And the first one usually is the physical body because that's the one that is right in front of us. Now, if we are consuming dense, extremely dense foods or foods that are restricting us, foods that are clogging us, it's definitely going to affect our mind and our mental health, right? And again, if our mental health is affected, we can never get on the spiritual part of ourselves because everything is cloudy, or we are afraid, or we are not thinking straight, or we are having mental issues that are causing us not to really see what is right in front of us, what is clearly right in front of us. We are missing it because we are clogged up or because we are restricted, right? So again, we find that uh, fruits are the highest foods that we can consume. Uh, they are the foods that originally uh, we were supposed to eat strictly fruits. However, again, here comes man with his smartness. Now he has even went into the fruits, and again, because he don't want to work too much, or he wants to create something else out of what's already there. So now you find that some of the fruits have been compromised. You're finding fruits that don't have seeds. This is because, again, they wanted the seeds out of the way, so it's easier to eat the fruit, right? Or they wanted to, again, hybridize it to create a third fruit or fruit that was not originally there. So you find some of the fruits have also been compromised. And again, like I said, before we didn't need to read any books or do any research to find out some of this information. However, now in this day and age, it is necessary because we have to be aware or start looking at what is it that's causing human beings to be in the state of health that they are in today. As advanced as we are technology wise, as advanced as we are in other areas, we are moving backwards in health. And these are some of the things that we have found that is causing the issues that we are experiencing. And then again, like I said, due to the manipulation of these foods, the additions of inorganic substances into the foods, the modernization, rather, or again, the processing of these foods take it even further because, again, now you have a substance that is now, again, in its natural form, straight from the soil. Because, again, the point of eating is to get either the minerals from the soil, even the animals, they eat animals. They eat those animals just to get the minerals that the other animal had ate the plant, and the plant had gotten the minerals from the soil. Again, all we are physically, our physical body is nothing but the soil. That's all it is. That's why I say we came out of the soil. We're gonna go back to the soil physically, right? That's what builds up is the soil. So again, what comes out of the soil, if you break down the soil, all you're gonna find is the minerals, right? So again, the reason why we eat is for the minerals. the plants to get those minerals out of the soil, process them or pre-digest them into a state that the human body is able to consume or is palatable with the human body, right? However, now you find, again, people getting those things out of the soil, processing them, right, in a way that they can last longer, right? Or adding substances that are inorganic or substances that could be detrimental to our health, uh, to make those foods or those products that they are creating taste good, right? Or to uh, manipulate your brain through your taste buds to create an adverse reaction where you are going to be almost addicted, because that's what end up happening. We are addicted most of the time. What it is now, we are addicted to these substances that they are adding on to the foods that they have been producing, and now they have created a business where they will never lack a customer because you are addicted. You that's why you find that you gotta have something sweet, or you gotta have coffee, or you gotta have wheat or whatever. You find that you are addicted to something. uh, the substances that they have added have caused this type of situation. Again, on top of that, you have other substances like chemicals that they add on top of it, and all these end up in your body. Again, once your body tries to get to the minerals that it needs, the rest of it is waste. And what will end up happening is either it comes out of you through the rectum, or it gets stuck somewhere into your body. Now that's where the problems comes in, when some of these substances are stuck in the body. Again, you have a lot of environmental factors that contributes again to some of these issues. Things like heavy metals, again, metals that are not naturally forming in the ground or in the soil, end up being in the body. Chemicals that again are synthetics, or they are not biochemicals, they are inorganic chemicals, end up being in the body, and this causes disruptions, whether in hormones, disruptions in organs, disruptions in the cell cycles, and again you end up having symptoms which they call diseases. It can be symptoms as simple as a running nose, which again they lie to us and tell us a virus is responsible for this. Or you can have pain, headaches or other pains. If you're a female, you can have menstrual periods that are painful, uh, extremely bleeding, things of that nature. This is the symptoms that the body is telling you, hey, look, there's a problem here, there's a problem. However, again, what they have come up with, or the solution which they have come up with, is to find a substance that's going to go numb or going to go clog up the pain or the mucus that's coming out of your nose, in form of a chemical, right? So they are not giving you a solution, they are putting a bandage on top of it, and their situation will end up becoming a major issue somewhere down the road. Again, that's how mainly the foods that we consume, and again, everything that affect the human body as far as its health is concerned is directly connected with what we consume, whether it's the foods themselves or the additives that have been added to the foods. Again, as we continue, we see the process just getting worse and worse and worse. Now we even have things that they labeled GMOs, like they're genetically modified substances. They tell you that's what they are. And so you even have an even greater threat to the human body, right? Again, the human body is very powerful, but it can only take so long before it starts breaking down. Again, you find that if you recognize some of these things and you remove some of these things from your diet, you will be surprised to realize that all the issues or most of your issues are corrected by just consuming the right kind of food. Again, nowadays it's very challenging to even know what's right or what's wrong. Again, it's a few ways that you can identify what's good for you. Again, one of it is to consume things that grows by themselves, the things that they call weeds, and the things like fruits. One was to know, like, hey, fruits are the highest form of food. You can never go wrong with fruit. However, you gotta be careful. Make sure the fruits that you're consuming have seeds or they grow in the wild, right? And even the other plants that I mentioned, the one way to know, hey, this is a good substance for me to consume is to look at it and see it growing in the wilderness by itself, right? It don't have to be taken care of by man to be able to survive. And these foods are still there, but again, it will take some time for people to start identifying them and to get back to them. But again, if you consume those foods, you would never experience any health issues. And this is something that we have proven over and over. We are talking about diseases of all kinds, including things that they tell you that they don't have cures, including things like HIV and AIDS. We have seen people vital loads just drop like they're taking ERVs, and they're not taking ERVs. They're strictly changing uh, their diet and then using some herbal formulas, which again, herbals are very powerful. Again, mankind, again, oh my God, have found a way to manipulate even herbs. And you find that you also have some herbs that can be detrimental, right? Again, the one way to identify them is to look for things that are coming from the wilderness. Those are the truly natural plants, and those are the ones that you want to stick to, right? Herbs are very powerful, or plants that grows in the wilderness, they are very powerful. Again, another way to recognize them is to look at their roots. Most hybridized or man-made plants do not have a taproot, right? A natural plant always have a taproot which goes deep, deep, deep in the soil to get the minerals inside the soil. Again, the topsoil or the soil that is on the layer on top of the earth has a lot of toxins. It have a lot of the minerals have been depleted. So there's nothing that the plant is getting from the top of the soil, right? It's not getting anything to nourish you. But the plants that are found in the wilderness, they take their roots deep in the soil and they have a taproot that goes deep, deep in the soil to be able to pull the minerals that you will need. Again, if you look at most of the cultivated plants, you'll find that they grow very shallow on top of the ground. A corn, you can just pull a corn with one hand. Potatoes, they actually are right there on top of the soil. So you got to ask yourself, because again, these plants pulls from the soil, and the topsoil again have been compromised on top of the plant being compromised. So it's creating a lot of challenges for the body to be able to not have some type of symptoms that are diseases. Again, that's the way you're able to identify uh, what can be a natural plant or what can be a good plant versus which ones are not good. And again, there are quite a lot of those plants now that you can consume. Like you see a lot of native greens; those are very good. Like the traditional greens. Again, the fruits are always the best type of foods to consume. So if you're not sure, just stick to mainly the fruits. And again, uh, look for the fruits that have seeds in them. Don't consume nothing that do not have a seed in it, because there by itself it lets you know that it have been modified. And in doing the modification, there's no telling what they have either added or what they have put in it to cause it to be seedless, right? So the same thing, it'll have some type of effect on you because it is created in a way that is not natural. Again, moving on to the way we are supposed to really, or how the body kind of consumes or kind of processes the food. Uh, uh, you want to be able to consume your foods in a way that the body can digest it in a manner that it can be helpful to you. Things like fruits have a lot of fiber. They also digest very quickly. So you definitely don't want to eat anything heavy and then eat fruits on top of it, because fruits are going to digest and then they are going to start fermenting on top of the rest of the food. Remember, your colon is a line that goes down. So whatever went in first needs to come out before whatever you put on top of it uh, come out next. So again, if you eat something heavy and then you eat fruits, they are going to create uh, an effect that is not going to be very pleasant or healthy for you, because again, fruits digest very fast and they start fermenting. Now, as far as consuming foods, what you want to do, or what's a good way to consume foods, is to eat. Uh, that's a great way to consume food. Eat one substance at a time, whatever it is that you're eating, or eat substance of the same type of structure. Like I mentioned, fruits and foods, you don't want to mix with those. Fruits, again, the best time to consume fruits is in the morning. This is between the time you wake up and, between that time and maybe between noon or between 10 o'clock or whatever, in the morning time, or before you go to the bathroom, after you go, or right after you go after the bathroom, because again, that's when your body is kind of releasing most of the processed foods that it previously processed. And again, fruits have a lot of fiber, which helps the body kind of eliminate most of the foods that um, we process. Again, a human stomach is the size of a fist, of one of your fists. So again, that's about as much food as we should be consuming. But again, the industries have found a way to corrupt the foods and add substances to make us eat more. So you find that we are constantly eating. And this is the reason why you find most people are overweight or have, again, health issues because of the excess. As humankind, again, a typical way of eating, you can eat fruits in the morning, drink 3 liters of water. Water is very important. We are over 65% water, over 70% water. Most of your intake should be water, right? So again, consume about 3 liters of water every day, eat fruits in the morning. Again, we have been lied to about breakfast and it being the most important meal of the day, and eating heavy breakfast, whether it's starchy food, which is what we consume in the morning, or meats or animal products. All these are things that are going to clog up our systems and rob our body of energy. Digestion takes a lot of energy to process. That's why if you eat a heavy meal, you feel like going to sleep because process and digest the food. Again, your colon originally is the size of the fist. So that's about how much food you should really be consuming. But again, we have been used to eating so much food, or the ways that we have been taught of. So we have to find a way to titrate back into a level where we are consuming the proper sizes of food. So again, what I would advise is um, eating fruits in the morning, drinking 3 liters of water again, and eating one meal a day. Again, you want to make sure that you consume your meal 3 or 4 hours before bedtime. This gives the body enough time to digest the food. And again, you want to make sure you're choosing the least detrimental. And I'll put this out there because nowadays, there's very few things again that you can find either in the marketplace or anywhere around that is not detrimental. But you want to choose some of the least detrimental foods. If you need help, again, I posted a list of some of the foods that we have identified as being least detrimental on the group. It's in form of a PDF, so you're welcome to print that out and use that if you want. And those are the ones that you want to consume. And again, this is I'm giving this information because I myself, I have helped myself through a lot of diseases or a lot of conditions, a lot of symptoms that I was dealing with, extreme conditions that was really, really uh, had me on a very bad state of health. And after that, I have helped quite a lot of people with the same information. And again, we have seen a lot of improvements, a lot of people getting better, a lot of people being cured of diseases that doctors would tell you they are incurable. Again, including diseases like HIV and AIDS. So this is something that I have put to test, and I have seen it to work and to be able to do wonders for people who thought there was no hope for them and they were just depending on chemical medication. That's the other part. I've had quite a lot of people get off chemical medication just again by switching up the way that they eat and doing some cleansings here and there. And they find that even aging, they find that they go back to a backward type of aging where, you know, they are now looking so sickly or they are now looking so old after switching up again what they have been, you know, consuming. Again, that's a great way to kind of live and have a lot of energy and be able to uh, remove some of the symptoms and live a life that is of a better quality. And again, on top of that, once you start removing some of these obstructions and some of these things that are clogging up our systems, you start thinking better. The clarity of mind is there. Then you start even being able to kind of dig deeper into your spiritual uh, journey or into your spiritual part of yourself. You find that a lot of people seem to have difficulty into knowing the truth because again, the spiritual aspect of you, you have to go inside to really dig into that or open into that. But if you're obstructed or if you're clogged up or your mental state is not in its right state, then you are definitely going to have some issues, whether it's with emotions. Again, some of these emotions are tied up to some of the animals that we are consuming. Uh, it'll create challenges for someone in all areas of life, again, whether it's emotional, mental, physical, or even spirituality, right? Again, these things we have seen them or we have recognized as the way to reverse any disease for that matter, any disease, whatever it is, you name it, whatever it is, you can reverse it with just diet. And again, most of the time, we find that the problem is the excess of what we have been consuming that's clogging up the body and causing all these symptoms. Again, we talk about fasting. Most people would identify fasting or will associate fasting with religion. You find that in religious settings, they would fast and pray, and they would create some type of positive results, right? And that by itself, it can let you know that uh, there's some benefits to the fasting itself. Now, the scientific part of fasting, we find that when you fast, it gives the body uh, the option, or it gives the body the chance to drain the excess. Because again, most of the issues we are having is due to the excess of what we've been consuming, whether it's excess of the energy, or whether it's excess of toxins, or whether it's excess of things that do not belong in the body, like heavy metals, right? Once you stop eating, then the body gets the chance to go inside those reservoirs, right, and use up the energy that is reserved in those reservoirs. And in doing so, it opens up the systems, which again drains up the excess toxins or substances that do not belong in the body, and uses up other substances that like fat that could be clogging up the system. Again, fat being stored as excess energy, you find that you are creating uh, an environment that is creating or supporting healing. Again, fasting is one of those methodologies that can cure, again, almost any disease, right? You get into a fasting protocol and you will be surprised uh, what it would make you feel like, or at the end of it, how it make you feel like. Obviously, it might be very challenging in the beginning or through the process because you are going to experience uh, the effects of it. Definitely, you're going to experience the hunger pangs. You're going to experience withdrawals from some of these substances again that we consume. We don't recognize how addictive they are. Something that sugar is more addictive than cocaine. A lot of people have a lot of difficulty not consuming sugar. And again, sugar is not just sugar cane that we consume, but it is also in form of carbohydrates. It's also in form of glucose, right? So you find like you'll have withdrawals from these substances that will cause you to have pain, right? They'll cause you to have emotions will rise up while you're opening up or clearing some of these systems. It will cause you to have some type of effect, right? However, at the end of it is one of the most beautiful experience that anybody, this I've done this numerous times, and I can tell you this has been one of the most beautiful experiences that I have ever experienced. I personally, somebody who used to be an alcoholic, a chronic alcoholic. Also used to be a chain smoker. This is talking about 30 years and plus of drinking, chain smoking, using drugs, and again, the way that I eliminated all those is through fasting and through changing my diet. So I'm telling you, you'll be surprised. Again, another issue I really used to deal with is lustfulness, which is a lot of people deal with it, don't even understand how it affects you or how it comes about. They think it's a natural way to be. However, it is not. Personally, I've experienced this to be not. I used to be somebody who was very lustful. Like sex was, I was addicted to sex. I was a sex addict. However, again, with fasting, uh, changing of diet, I go even a year without having sex. And this is not because I don't want to have sex. It's just to test. I'm kind of my own guinea pig, if you may. So most of the things that I either advocate for, I put them to test on myself to really see, hey, does this thing work or not? And I can tell you that again, things like being lustful or being extremely uh, have an extreme sexual desire, which is unhealthy, all right, is connected to food. This is I put this to test again, where again I've gone for a year without having sex again, consuming the right of foods, fasting, right, putting myself in that state of mind, and then coming back and consuming foods that are not, especially animal products, meats and things of their nature, and right away, the mucus start dripping. I can feel it right away. The joints start hurting, and then the thoughts start just going into a state of fear. I can feel just the negative effect of it. Being lustful, I can feel it coming on right on. So this is something I know and I've tested myself, and I have experienced it to be that whatever we consume uh, causes most of the issues or most of the experiences that we could uh, call negative or we could call not pleasant in our lives. Again, consuming the right type of foods, detoxing often, things like fasting. You can even fast 1 day out of a week, right? Or you can fast 3 days out of a month, or you can do 7 days, out of 6 months, right? Or initially, once you get to a good place, you can do like 7 days in a year, and you're good. Again, what we highly recommend, especially for beginners, is to do a juice fast, right? I'm pretty sure some of us have attempted some type of a juice fast, and you are consuming liquids, which gives the body the nutrients it needs from the juices, and then you're giving your digestive system a break from doing all the digestion. And what it does, it takes the energy and take it to the place where it's mainly needed. Whether you have an issue, it will go correct uh, the place you're having issues, and you can experience it yourself. Some of us who have done some juice fasting can attest to this, how powerful and how great you feel after that, how peaceful, how energetic you feel after going on a juice fast, right? Again, for those seasoned fasters like myself, a water fast is also very powerful. However, we do not recommend a water fast, especially for prolonged periods of time, because again, you are going to experience some very extreme uh, symptoms or signs, especially in the beginning. So you want to do either a fruit fast or a raw food fast or a juice fast, especially in the beginning, till you kind of get used to the process. Again, our bodies, uh, all they need is energy, and they transform and kind of change out into whatever state we put them in. Right now, due to us processing or consuming a lot of dense foods, we are very dense. We are in a state of a very dense state. Again, it would require for us to titrate kind of back into a state that we are able to be peaceful, a state that we are able to kind of connect in all aspects of our life, all dimensions of our life, because we are disconnected. And that's what this ease is. We are at this ease. We are not at ease. We are this ease, right? So we are disconnected. And to be able to get back to a state where we are connected, it will need for us to drain some of those obstructions, some of the plaque that is confounding us, some of the mucus that is, compounding us. And the way to do that is again, first is to change your diet, then do some cleansings, some detoxing, and you'll be surprised how many of the physical problems that will disappear by just doing that. Again, if somebody or anybody have any questions, I think I can open up the floor. Anybody who might have anything to add, please do. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Kamau. Thank you very much. That was an awesome one, very educative and eye opener because today I have known that the size of my stomach is the size of my one fist. Sheila, beware. Anyone with a question?
Let me ask. Okay, I would like to find out from you when we're looking at people who have dialysis, and we all know what the kidneys are for and the part or the role they play in the body when it comes to releasing the excesses that we have. Would you comment on the same, especially for those people that are now looking to have a kidney organ donor, to have them uh, consider the same? What would you comment about that, even when it comes to now diet and all? And basically, what causes? I know that different parts of the body we have sicknesses because of various things that we do. Maybe you can comment about that to give us a deeper insight on the same. Thank you.
Okay. I think the question was what I would recommend for somebody who is dealing with dialysis or a kidney situation. Again, we look at the kidney and we find that again, the function of the kidney is to filter, right, the things that goes into our body that don't belong into our body or filter the blood, right? Now the problem is here because again we are consuming substances that cannot be broken. Again, the kidney is like a sponge, right? So due to inorganic substances that we are consuming, the body or the acid in the stomach it's not able to break some of these substances down. They are too strong. They are too powerful for the human body. They are not organic. So they end up being now broken down into a liquid form, which again can pass to the kidneys. So what end up happening is some of these substances go and clog up a kidney, and now the kidney is not able to filter anymore because again the sponge is clogged up, right? And this is one of the most challenging organs to deal with, right? It's the kidney. So if you have a situation where you're in dialysis or your kidney is not functioning properly, again the process will be the same way. You want to be able to change your diet again, depending on the level where you at, because again, you do not want to do a juice fasting where you're not able to go to the bathroom. You're gonna be in trouble, right? So you want to make sure that you don't want to get to those levels where you're not able to go to the bathroom and you have to go get dialysis and stuff like that. But again, even with those levels, you have to make sure that you are removing things that causes obstruction in the system. Again, these foods, you mainly want to consume fruits, right? Again, they'll tell you that you want to eat things that are low in potassium. So there's quite a few things that really needs to be looked at before you can identify which patient and what to use. Again, this is one of the most tedious processes that somebody can bear from, and it's one of the most challenging ones. Kidneys up. So it will require this one would definitely, especially depending on the level of the patient, it will require a one-on-one, definitely a one-on-one and a monitoring because there's so many factors here that comes into play that needs to be considered. But one way to kind of back away from it is again to the diet, consuming things that are not clogging you up. Fruits are great, right? And another thing that I know that helps the kidneys a lot is to do a dry fast. Now, this is again is one of those uh, highest form of fasting. Also, one of the most riskiest one. So this one I would not advise anybody to do without supervision, or if you're not, you haven't kind of titrated the body to get to their level. What I mean by dry fast is you do not eat and you do not drink anything for a period of time, mostly hours. This one cannot even be done for more than 48 hours. I would not advise anybody, even the seasons one. I know some people who have pushed it to even 60 hours, but those are people after doing maybe 12 hours, then the next one they do a 24 hours, then they do a 36 hours, which is the most that I ever done myself, is 36 hours. Again, if your kidneys, because again, we get to know, or if you check on your health, testing your kidneys is very important to see their functionability, how well they are functioning. If they are not functioning at 100% or they're not functioning well, this is one of the methods or one of the ways to open them up is to do a dry fast, right? So you can give it the time to open up those clogs, right? But again, if it's fully clogged, it's very challenging. It's very, very challenging because again, most patients are not able to urinate. So again, you can't say, hey, use juicing to kind of help you. So again, you have to do little by little, little by little, little by little, till they get to levels where you can come in and start again using, um, using the full uh, juicing. Now you got some herbal plants that are very powerful. Uh, that breaks up some of those substances in the kidney, quite a few of those. Again, it would take a knowledgeable herbalist to kind of assist someone who have a condition like the kidney or is in dialysis.
Thank you.
Yes, Sheila, is your question answered?
Yeah, I said thank you. I'll reach out to Kamau as well for additional info.
Yes, yes. What? Let me let my brother speak. Abba Bishop. Bishop.
Yeah, I want to speak, but I wanted to suggest. I think I don't know. There's a Jacqueline. I because I see Jacqueline online. She's been quiet. I see RN and I see Bonaya. So I don't know if Jacqueline Bonaya have any question before I ask my question.
Yeah,
Hello,
hi,
Jacqueline.
this is Anne. Yeah.
Yeah.
A question for Kamau is what about intermittent fasting? Is that also recommended? Is it part of the fasting that he's talking about?
Absolutely. This is one of those, again, types of fastings that is very wonderful. Again, what intermittent fasting is, you choose particular hours that you consume your food. Let's say you consume your food within a window of either 6 hours and 18 hours you're not eating food, right? So what it does, it gives the body enough time to fully digest the food and to fully kind of release it before you can consume your next meal. This is a great way of eating, and that's what I was saying. A way of eating is just consuming one type of food. I mean, you can consume a meal and then, or you can consume your meals around the time where you say, this is my window of eating. And the rest of the time, you give your body the break that it needs. And this has done wonders for a lot of people. They have helped a lot of people, whether with weight loss or even with health issues. Uh, Great energy, So this is a good one. Intermittent fasting is definitely a way of eating or a way of fasting, so it's a great way.
Okay. Brother Ra. Thank you so much. I want to ask a question. Like this has been really eye-opening. Okay, I have two questions before Bonaya ask a question. Now, number one, um, when I wake up in the morning, are you with me, brother Ra?
Yes, brother, I hear you loud and clear.
Okay, okay, okay. Now, when I wake up in the morning, let's assume I'm not fasting. What should be the first thing I put in my body? Is it water? And if I drink water, will it be okay? Let's assume if I discipline myself to eat just once in a day and not very, very voluminous food. And what's the best time to eat? Is it in the night, in the evening, in the afternoon, or in the morning? Or so that, because I'm thinking of, okay, if I'm not fasting, let me be eating once in a day. Then stay on liquid. Maybe take water in the morning, take water in the evening. Then secondly, how do I lose um how do I lose fat without losing my body mass? How do I lose weight without losing body mass? I don't know if you understand my question.
Absolutely, brother. I hear you. I understand it very
All right,
clearly.
all right.
All right,
Okay,
yes,
okay. So
definitely, definitely. Sure, go ahead.
yeah. So that's the basic question. The two questions: how do I eat? So from what you said now, I think I have to work on myself to stop eating my turkey laps, my chicken, because I usually eat chicken. So I have to stop eating chicken. So so I have to. It's not going to be easy, but I think I'm pledging to stop eating chicken from tomorrow. So what are the best thing to take? Is it fruits? Is it carrots? What kind of food should I eat? And is it okay for me to eat once in a day? Then how do I lose weight that's fat without losing body mass. Thank you.
Okay, yes, indeed. Now, again, overnight, when we are sleeping, we pretty much fasting. And that's why the first meal of the day is called breakfast. You're breaking the fast from the overnight. The best thing to ingest once you wake up is warm water. You don't want to drink ice cold water. You want to drink warm water as soon as you wake up. Drink a couple cups, 2 even 3 cups of warm water. This will open up your organs, right? And get your colon to function, and you're more than likely going to go to the bathroom at that point, right? So after that, you can consume some fruits. Fruits are great because they'll give you energy. They also have fiber, which will help you again eliminate uh, any substance that could have been left. Again, if you eat 3 times 24 hours, you should go to the bathroom three times 24 hours later. But most people only go once, or sometimes they don't even go. Right? So most people are really, really clogged up, and a lot of feces backed up, right? Or a lot of waste is backed up in them. And again, that's an environment that causes a lot of issues to most of the human body. And actually, most of the human issues comes from the colon. So again, water is the best thing to drink in the morning. Just plain water. Warm water is great. Don't drink cold water. About 3 glasses of water, 1 to 3 glasses of warm water is a great thing. If you're able to go to the bathroom or you start moving around, it's great. Go to the bathroom, move around. Then when you want to sit down and have a meal, a breakfast meal, eat fruits. Fruits are the best thing to consume in the morning. After that, you can consume if you're doing maybe some physically demanding work. You can maybe grab a salad along the way somewhere, and then eat one meal in the evening. Between 4 and 7 is the best time to eat your meal. If you are okay, it's best to uh, stay without eating anything until that time. So you eat the fruits in the morning, and then you eat one meal in the evening, which is maybe 3 to 4 hours before bedtime. Now, along the time, you can drink herbal tea. Don't drink green tea. Don't drink black tea. They have caffeine in them. Caffeine uh, causes obstruction in the brain, or causes obstruction or robs oxygen from the brain. So you want to stay away from either green tea, you want to stay away from black tea, you want to stay away from coffee. Most people are addicted to coffee because, again, we consume things that are causing us or robbing us of energy. So we need to ingest things like caffeine to give us artificial energy. And on the flip side, it end up causing us more issues. Again, it robs us of energy in a way that it restricts the oxygen from the brain. I mean, it raises you up real quick, then it drop you. So you can tell this is not something that is natural. So you wanna ingest herbal teas. Herbal teas are great, especially herbal teas or herbs that are high in iron. Most people are lacking energy or are low in energy because they are low in iron, right? Things like nettle is very good. Things like red clover, dandelion, there's quite a few. Blue vervain, hibiscus, those type of herbals or herbal teas are great to consume. You can consume that throughout the day. There's another substance that comes from the ocean, or a plant that comes from the ocean, that is very powerful. We have seen this thing do wonders again. The ocean is full of minerals, right? Some of the least compromised minerals are found in the ocean. And so these plants feeds in the minerals in the ocean. They have most of the minerals that the body needs, and it converts those minerals to a state that the body can consume. It's called sea moss or sea vegetables. Vegetables are generally great, but this particular one is called CMOS. You can even look it up. SEAMOSS. SEAMOSS. This one you can eat by itself and don't need nothing else, and you'll be great. No problem at all. CMOS is wonderful. Now, as far as the muscles and the fat is concerned, yes, you can lose fat without losing your body mass or your muscles. You will need to, the way you build muscles is not by food. You build muscles by working the muscles, you know, to grow. So you have to do some type of exercise, which is necessary. Our bodies are built to move around. So exercising is necessary for anybody, and that's the way uh, you lose the fat without losing the body mass is by exercising or finding some type of body movement. And I'm telling you, compared to how you're gonna be feeling, because again, another problem that we have nowadays is most people associate the swelling into muscles or the inflammation into somebody who look good. And they look at somebody who is thin and think that they don't look good or they are sickly. However, the natural way for a human being to look is to be thin and to be slim. Not even long ago, if you look back into maybe even in the 60s, you will find that most people were very lean, they were very slim, and they were very masculine because they worked all day physically with their physical body, or they walked around, they danced around, they wrestled, they did physical things and ate very little. Like they would eat very little because people did not stay at home all day. There was no restaurants, there was no supermarkets, there was no shops, there was no vibandas where they used to sell different things that you can buy along the way. No, you would consume maybe something in the morning, and then out there you might eat fruits that were in the wilderness. You don't come home till later on in the evening and consume one meal. That's how people used to live, and they didn't have any issue. But again, nowadays we constantly eating, and we have associated the inflammation into somebody who is healthy or into somebody who is masculine. But again, that is not it. But the way to kind of sustain your muscles, or if you want to keep your muscles, is to work out. Because the
Brother
kind of
Kamau,
food that you eat is very
your
important.
phone is making constant noise. I get the connection.
Okay, how is it now?
Great, perfect.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm traveling, so I'm driving. So, I go different places and jump from tower to tower. But again, working out, exercising, it's a good way to kind of sustain your strength and to keep your muscles. I hope I answered your question, brother.
So it's yeah. And I think will you advise we totally stop eating meat? What about fish? Can we eat seafood like fish?
See, that is also something that you know it, it's not gonna be broken down by the body into a state. Because again, look at fish, right? Again, this seaweed I told you about, that's what fish eats, right? And that's what becomes fish. But the fish comes with its own DNA, its own fat that can clog you up. and it actually rot in your stomach, right? Creating some situation that are not the best, right? So again, and then even today, the fish that they are producing have been compromised. They are raising them in pods or even in the ocean where you have those heavy metals. Most of the heavy metals hide behind fat, right? So a fish is more than likely to consume or carry some of these heavy metals like mercury and arsenal, right? Other than a sea vegetable. So if I were you, or if I was to advise you, I would say look into sea vegetables rather than the fish. But no, the fish is
All right.
still not healthy, brother.
Okay, 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 okay. Which means I have to
Hey,
become a vegetarian then.
hey. Wow, I am just out of words, because for me, I stopped eating meat a long time, many years. But fish, I've been eating them properly. Okay, anyone with the question? Anyone with other? Let me add something. I want to clarify something. When there is somewhere in spirituality that what goes out, what goes in your mouth does not define you, but what goes out. And on the side of food, what goes in is what creates the physical body. This physical body is all of it is food. And the same thing, they said any kind of food which is against nature that can harm the body. Now it becomes like two parts. This what goes into the mouth, to the physical body, it can break it down or it can grow it to its limit. And the physical body is that one which is harboring the soul or the indwelling of the spirit. And what